we will be starting off with the mighty Buffalo Bills. So Dustin, take it away. Before you take it away, just wanted to mention, of course, his continued prayers for Damar Hamlin and everyone around him. But other than that, Dustin, please tell me about the Bills. What are you most confident in, and what are you least confident in heading into this matchup against the Dolphins?
Obviously, I'm most confident in Josh Allen. Um, Against the Dolphins, the 2 games this year, 67 completions out of 103 attempts, 704 yards, 3 touchdowns in this game, no interceptions. Over his last 6 games, he has 14 touchdowns. So he's coming in pretty hot. He finally looks healthy. It looks like that elbow is no longer giving him an issue. I don't see how the Dolphins can stop Josh Allen. I think the only issue would be Josh Allen stopping Josh Allen, but I'm confident in him coming forward, going forward, playing with that emotion. If you haven't had a chance, check out Kyle Brandt's Basement. He does a segment with Josh Allen, came out, I think, yesterday or today. Just talked about that preparedness and how they're ready to play going forward. And I'm really confident about that. I'm least confident in 2 things. One, the Bills' run defense, and 2, our ability to cover Jalen Waddle. In the 2 games against the Bills, Waddle had 6 targets, 4 receptions, 107 yards in week 3, 7 targets, 3 receptions, 114 yards, and a touchdown in the second game. He hasn't played great with Skylar Thompson, which is why it's not that big of a concern. He's had 5 targets in both games, caught 3, caught 5, 52 yards, 44 yards in the past 2 games. So not outstanding with Skylar Thompson, who's probably going to start this week. But I'm more concerned about the run defense. Week 15 against the Dolphins, Mostert ran for 102 yards on 19 carries, and Salvon Ahmed had 43 yards on 6 carries. We're giving up 92.2 yards per game in the past 6 games in rushing. So the Dolphins can run on the Bills, which has been and continues to be a weak point in their defense. Obviously, they dealt with some issues. So I'm concerned about that, but I still think we have the firepower to overcome this slow, methodical running game the Dolphins might have. But we definitely have to learn to stop the run if we're going to progress in the postseason.
Yeah, the loss of Von Miller really can't be understated. It was a big time addition to the team, and it just stinks, to lose a player of that caliber, who could contribute to helping out with that weakness in the run game. But obviously a big loss there for the Bills, but the losses for the Dolphins just seem to be piling up here. So
Yes.
Tua Tagovailoa has been ruled out. Raheem Mostert broke his thumb in week 18. I mean, he may still be able to play, just, maybe some ball security issues, but it may be a lot of Jeff Wilson.
The Bills
And
haven't
then,
seen Jeff Wilson yet, so
oh,
we
okay.
haven't seen Jeff Wilson at all. He didn't play in the Week 15 game, so and then Tyreek Hill also has, I think, an ankle issue, so there's some concern there, which I think could shift it to Waddle a little bit more, who's had the better games against the Bills.
Gotcha. So this one to me seems like the surest bet of the Bills winning. Do you think there is a case that the Dolphins can pull an upset, or do you just not see that happening?
I mean, you could make a case, right? Any given Sunday, a team can win. What I see the case being is turnovers. So in the 2 games, Buffalo has had 6 fumbles. They've lost 2. Miami's only had 1 fumble, not lost any. I can see a case where if we lose a fumble and the Bills get behind, they're playing with a lot of emotional energy right now, obviously with Damar Hamlin. But if they start getting behind, the energy actually works against them because they start pressing so hard because they want to win for Damar. They want to proceed. They want that ring for Damar. That if they get down a touchdown or 10 points, like they're going to be overreaching and overextending themselves, right? You're going to see guys on defense playing out of position, right? They're going to be trying to make plays where they should just, hold their gap, hold the edge. Josh Allen will be trying to make throws he probably shouldn't make. So there is that case of if those fumbles or those turnovers start skewing, because obviously it's, the way the ball bounces with the fumble, if those skew towards the Dolphins, you could see a case where the Bills and that emotional energy just becomes too much. And then late in the game, that could just be deflating for them when they're like, we're not going to pull this out for Damar. I think that energy catapults them to a win in the beginning, and I don't see it happening that way, but you could make the case that could happen.
Gotcha. Yeah. An under, stated part of the game is like controlling the clock and special teams and things like this. Just a couple weeks ago, just to touch on the Eagles real quick, against against the New Orleans Saints, the Saints started the game with like a 9-minute drive,
Yep.
and the Eagles were playing from like behind that whole game, like because they just did these little chunk plays and it was just completely ridiculous. It threw the whole rhythm of the game off. So I think a lot would have to go right in the Dolphins' way of handling the clock in that case.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty outrageous, situation as far as I'm concerned. But like you said, I think any given Sunday. But to me, this seems to be the surest matchup of the slate, just because of the potential quarterback
Yeah.
matchups there. Yeah, for sure.
And I
Now,
think
yeah,
I
go ahead.
do think that's a big question mark. Like the secondaries for the Bill, obviously that's Damar Hamlin's position. Like he plays with those guys. They have a little more extra juice in the game, and they know
Mm,
they're playing a third stringer, so they're going to come out there, and that's going to be a key matchup to watch. Also, I think the offensive line versus the defensive line, the Bills' defensive line versus the Miami offensive line, if they can create those rushing holes without Von Miller, without some of those, Ed Oliver really has to step up. Greg Rousseau has to step up. And that could be that win in the trenches is really what's going to be pivotal here. But I do think the defensive backs for Buffalo trying to make plays on Kyler Thompson, trying to jump routes when they just need to play smart football. They don't need to make big plays. We don't need big plays to win. It's not about how we win. We just need to win.
perfect. So, say they get through Miami. What is your overall prediction for the Bills in this postseason here? Like, do you think winning the Super Bowl is a reasonable expectation? Like, what are your predictions for the Bills? And overall, who do you think would end up winning the postseason here?
I mean, the Bills have the toughest path. If they win, they're going to have to play Cincinnati, and then they have to play Kansas City most likely in the championship game, which will be neutral. Either way, they're basically playing Cincinnati next week. Like that's a given. They're the 3 seed. They're going to be the highest seed available. So Kansas City's going to get the lowest seed available. So we're getting Cincinnati, which we don't know what that game's going to look like because we saw 2 drives of it, right? Like we don't know how we match up. It's been a good year for the Bills. The Bills could have started out really bad. They started out the season against like the Rams. They had Rams, Titans, Dolphins, Ravens, Steelers, Kansas City. Like we could have started 2-4, but we started 5-1. So they've proven against some of these big teams. We proved it against the Rams, who were the Super Bowl champs. We proved it against the Titans and Derrick Henry. We proved it against Kansas City. So I think they have that in the back of their minds. But it's a tough road to go. Dolphins, division rival, probably our most hated rival, Cincinnati, Kansas City. I do like that it's going to be a neutral site game. Probably in Atlanta seems to be where they're going to have that game at, seems to be the thing. So we may see a large contingency of the biggest Bills backer group is in Orlando, Florida. So they may travel to that game. So we may see a heavy Bills contingency there, but it's a tough road. But I do think Super Bowl is the realistic expectation. It has been all season. I think that's where they're headed. I think they're all just believing in like it's gonna break that way for him, just because the way everything has broken for him after Damar Hamlin. Like when you see Nyheim Hines run that kickoff, the opening kickoff back for a touchdown, and then see Josh Allen in the press conference when he hears that it's been 3 years and 3 months. Like to him, it was just like that's a spiritual. He even said he's like, this is a spiritual moment. Like I don't understand it. He's like, God couldn't have written it up any better. I think that's their thought process. Like, man, we're like a team of destiny almost, which can get in their way. But I think I think against Cincinnati, they're gonna get punched in the mouth, and it's gonna be a hard fought battle. And then I think they're going to go into Kansas City and go into Atlanta or wherever they're playing and go, we've beaten these guys, we can do it. So it's a hard road, but I do think it's Super Bowl or bust for the Bills.
Gotcha. And I think that's fair. For sure. Well, I appreciate your thoughts, Dustin, and best of luck to the Bills, unless, of course, they end up facing the Eagles. But yes,
that's what we're hoping for. Bills Eagles Super Bowl. I'd love.
Oh no, it would be fantastic for the average viewer, for sure. Yeah, well, I would happen to be rooting for that as well. So we will see.